Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things. Welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Super2. Joining me today is Rasco of Rasco's Modern Life. Hello, Rasco.
Howdy, everybody. What's going on?
What's going on, Rasco, is that people listening can now download episodes of Geeky Gentlemen. Listen on the go. There's a link in the description so they can check it out. And if they want to download older episodes of Geeky Gentlemen, then they can check out the Geeky Gentlemen playlist and leave comments on episodes that they want to be able to download, and I will upload them for their listening pleasure. So, yeah, go check that out. Listen to Geeky Gentlemen on the go, in your car, in your ears, right in your ear. Anyway, Resco, what are we talking about this time?
Today we're talking about a fan film called Krueger, The Legend of Elm Street, or something like that?
Yeah, that's it. Actually, before I confirm that is it, what would be a fantastic idea on my part? Is if I were to look up the fan film again and make sure that's the title.
Yeah, that would be a good idea, Ian.
Yeah, probably. That'd be the professional thing to do. Yes, Krueger is the name of the fan film, then the subtitle is The Legend of Elm Street. This was done by Blinky500, who is really, he's made a name for himself by making fan films, and it's kind of surprising that this is the first of his fan films we've done.
Okay.
The other series that he got really popular for was Call Me Mr. J, and that it was odd. They kind of happened simultaneously and independent of each other. They did the same thing as the Joker blogs, or it was someone interviewing the Joker. It was Harley Quinn interviewing the Joker, basically. Mm-hmm. And that's the series that got him really popular. But he's been doing fan films for years. He's got quite a library of content. So I'm aware of this guy. Do you think you'd ever heard of any of the stuff he's done before?
I don't think I've heard of any of the stuff that he's done.
Okay.
But I'm not, super familiar with, fan film community, so...
Mm-hmm. It's just interesting that, we've been reviewing fan films for a number of months now, and we've just now got to him. And this is it's not the first Freddy Krueger fan film he's done either. This is another one in quite a long list. So yeah. What'd you think of it, though?
I thought this was actually pretty good. I thought that for every aspect of this was serviceable, and I think that the directing was pretty good. I think the directing was, good enough that, if the budget was higher, you could, see this as, a professionally made, film. Obviously you wouldn't because of the length and stuff like that, obviously, but, I think that, this guy with a professional budget could do a pretty interesting take on Freddy Krueger, honestly. Yeah,
it's always interesting. You can I'm pretty sure in the description of every single one of his videos is do you like what we're doing with this character? We'll sign this petition. And he sends petitions off to studios to try to get them to hire him for directing and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
Directing and writing, and yeah, that's comparisons made with him often with his work often is he's got a pretty good vision and idea for a lot of these characters, and he puts a lot of effort into the stuff. I don't think there's anything inherently bad about this. I don't particularly care for it, though. I just felt kind of like underwhelmed. Like it feels like it's setting up something that's going to be much more interesting.
Yeah.
As opposed to being really good on its own.
Yeah, that's why I said like I could see it like if it went all the way and like we got to see like the full story. I think that like this, it's like if you gave it like the budget of like a maybe like a mini series or something like that on like TV or like on Netflix. I don't know, like something like that. Like I think that like this would translate well to something like that.
Yeah, I have like a couple specific things here or there that like just bug me. I think the biggest one being that really weird song choice.
The Dream?
When Freddy is killed. No, not in the Dream. It's when Freddy is killed.
Oh, I like that.
Really, that just seems so completely off to me. It seemed like completely different mood.
I just like that because that like distinguishes it from like the remake of Nightmare on Elm Street's take, and it feels like a different take on Nightmare on Elm Street because it's like kind of looking at that in a little bit more of like a pulled back, humored way of like, look at these people who are just like murdering this guy and he's dying horribly and like he deserves it obviously, and like it's just like really funny. And I liked the weird like thing where you get to see him get the glove because I thought that was really cool and like supernatural and like I don't know, like I wouldn't mind a Nightmare on Elm Street where like Freddy is like more in the forefront as like a human character and it's like a little bit more about Freddy.
I could agree with that.
And I think from his perspective, that scene plays kind of in a humorous way that is dark enough that I kind of like it when he's burning alive in that weird song choice. But continue, go on.
I don't know. I just felt like it was such a difference in tone. I feel like this might be a weird idea. I feel like the score for a Freddy Krueger movie should either be, instrumental, creepy, jump horror music, or nursery rhymes.
Okay.
I don't feel like there should be any other songs in a Freddy Krueger movie than those two kinds of things. And I could have seen something much more humorous I think humorous is the wrong term because I didn't laugh at it, or I didn't laugh with it. I kind of felt like laughing at it. I don't know. I feel like something much more twisted could have been going on if there was like what would be a good one? I'm trying to, like, nursery rhymes are honestly all kind of fucked up. So if there's one in particular where the original connotation involves burning, that'd be fantastic to use as the soundtrack as he's being burnt alive by the parents. Like, there's got to be something like that. Friggin' Ring Around the Rosie is about the Black Plague, so I assume there's something out there that I'm just not thinking of at the moment. But if it'd been like
little child.
I don't know. There's certainly things you could use. Though you could do Ring Around the Rosie. You could do because Ring Around the Rosie might work.
These are a few of my favorite things.
Oh, I was thinking more along the lines of like Rockabye Baby and stuff like that.
That would be hilarious if that song was there. Like that'd be so funny.
I don't know. I think it could be interesting because there's that whole child killer aspect of Freddy Krueger. But I did like the glove scene quite a bit. I thought that was really interesting because it's been a while since I watched through all the Nightmare movies, but I'm pretty sure we never exactly saw the process by which Freddy Krueger got to come back.
Mm-hmm.
So I really did like that. That was a neat idea.
Yeah.
Maybe would have liked... I don't know. I've got to check out his other stuff with Freddy Krueger, and I know he's done other stuff with these, slasher horror characters, let's call it. I know he's done other stuff with them, so maybe he's using that version of I'll call her death, just for lack of a better term, in all of those, and like that's the origin of how these monsters keep coming back. That'd be cool to connect those all like that.
Oh shit, that would be cool.
Because as
theory of the MCU, but for horror characters.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be an interesting way to connect all those together. But yeah, I did like that. Was there anything you didn't like about this? Like any specific thing that bothered you?
I don't know. Maybe some of the dialogue in not in the dream scenes, but when they're having that conversation before she goes to sleep, some of the dialogue feels a little like dated, but almost in like a where it's trying to be a movie from the 70s. Where I would like it more if it was like taking place during like OG Nightmare of on Elm Street. But if it was, like, not the stilted acting of the 70s...
Well, Nightmare on Elm Street's late 80s, early 90s.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Never mind. I don't even... Wait a second. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm going to look it up,
I think it is 80s. I think it actually is 80s. Hold on. That's what I'm...
84.
Okay. So, Nightmare on Elm Street, 84. Then it should... So, the first Nightmare on Elm Street, it's like a movie made in the 80s. So, the acting... it's weird, because acting has changed, where it's kind of... The difference between, like, acting in movies and in theater has, like, really widened. Whereas, it used to kind of be similar. Like, you used to act a little bit more like you did in theater, even when you were in movies. And it's different now, where... acting for film is a lot different. It's a lot more subdued for the most part, unless you're trying to make a really theatrical kind of film. Mm-hmm. And, like, I think that this would be cool if it was played more theatrical in a way, and less kind of, like, stilted from the 80s, I guess.
I can see that. I thought Freddy was good, and I guess my biggest thing with the acting is, once again, it's fan films, you get who you can get. My biggest thing with the acting is it was a little distracting based on the timeline of events. Because, I've said this before, you just kind of have to deal with younger actors.
Yeah.
But that excuse only works when... How to put this? When you don't have a choice about how old the character has to be.
Yeah. Like,
you can... If you want to make a Batman fan film, but you're a bunch of 15-year-olds... You probably shouldn't make Batman 15 years old. You should just act like, okay, we're pretending to be adults. But they wrote an original script for this. There's nothing that says the kids on Elm Street have to be really old or have to be teenagers. It's not a requirement. Mm-hmm. I don't understand why there needs to be 15 years difference. And... especially since the actors that play the parents don't appear to have aged. I can think of a number of ways that can be written out, and I don't feel like it's detrimental to the story at all. You could have, instead of the daughter that's supposed to be 15 that gets mentioned in this, instead of her being born after the child that Freddy killed, maybe she was already like 10 or 11 and her little brother was killed by Freddy. Uh-huh. And so then you only need a couple years to pass and it would look believable that the actors wouldn't age that much. Because I can buy that woman as the parent of an 11-year-old who's become 15. What I can't buy is that woman as the parent of a 15-year-old after having a child who was at least 7 or 8, maybe? It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm making any sense.
No, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Okay. And that doesn't seem like a change that would be detrimental to the script. It seems like a perfectly believable thing that you could do to sell the age of your actors just a little bit more. Without it being a problem. Like, usually I won't complain about how old an actor is in a fan film because it's always a matter of you get who you can get. But with this being almost entirely original script, I do kind of find that a bit of a problem, that they didn't write around that.
Okay, yeah.
But the acting itself, no, I didn't have any specific problems with it.
In many places it was quite good. There was a few line deliveries where I just don't think they were quite capable of getting it, like, the emotional range that it was necessary, that, like, a professional actor would. And I'm not saying that they're not capable of that. I'm just saying, like, I didn't feel like it was there sometimes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that. It wasn't, like, super professional, but it wasn't distractingly bad or anything. Would you agree with me that the actor that's playing Freddy is the best in this?
Yeah, he was really good, and he did a great job with getting the audio effects right for the voice.
Mm-hmm.
That was really good.
There's that altered way that Freddy speaks, where it's like really deepened and has a bit of a growl to it.
Yeah, it's like weird, kind of echoey.
Yeah, and I'm honestly surprised. Again, I don't think this is bad by any means. I'm just left a little, okay, this is the beginning of a movie. And it's interesting. I'm curious to watch his other fan films of Freddy Krueger specifically, because initially I'm like, oh, Freddy Krueger, there should be plenty of fan films of him. And there are. But the more I thought about it, the more I'm like, he seems like one of the characters that would be really, really hard to do in a fan film. And I'm not surprised that they don't go too far with him in this. Mm-hmm. Because, I've watched the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. They're kind of fucking nuts with just the scale of how everything gets in those films. This is really bare bones kind of movie right here. Or bare bones kind of location and... I don't want to say imagination, but ambition in visually telling the story. I think there are some nice subtle things that are done in the dream sequences that work quite well. Like, I really like when she turns the corner chasing after her son and then Freddy's there, how it goes from daytime to nighttime. I thought that was a really neat touch. Mm-hmm. So there are a couple things that I thought were done fairly well. But, yeah, it was a little like... I don't know what I was expecting. I was kind of hoping for someone to go balls to the wall crazy on a Freddy Krueger fan film. Maybe that's too much to ask.
I don't mind it. Like, I'm never going to hold it against people for not getting incredibly ambitious with their fan films. Mm-hmm. Just because, like, that's kind of what I would rather people not try to do. I'd rather them not try to do things that they are going to be outside of their wheelhouse and that compromise the consistency of the experience overall. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
we've talked about that a number of times. But I don't know, I like to see when fan films get really ambitious. Because you're right, it can go terribly wrong, but it's so much cooler when it pays off.
Yeah, it can work sometimes and be pretty cool.
Uh-huh. What else can we talk about with this? Did you like how it opened?
Wait a second.
With the news, with
the news thing? That was okay. That part felt too movie-ish. It didn't feel like a real, genuine newscast. If it had, I would have liked it more. It felt very much to me like fake movie newscast. Like, we're here at the courthouse to say this.
Fair enough. I don't know. I guess I really like the idea, the way it was cut. As flipping through channels.
Yeah.
And seeing different parts of the same interview from different angles. It just seems like a really good way to cut around, maybe, like, and I'm not saying this is what happened, but I imagine that the actor, like, screwed up a line and they just slightly changed the angle and then started from the next line or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I just thought that was a really clever way to kind of cut a scene together like that.
Yeah.
I think it would have maybe helped a little bit more if we saw, like, the TV, or the newscast be turned off, and then we're left with the reflection of some of the parents, like, getting up and getting ready to go kill him.
Uh-huh.
I thought that could have been interesting.
Yeah, that could have been cool.
Just something to make it like these were the people that were flipping through the television channels.
Mm-hmm.
I find it a little odd that all the news channels were apparently broadcasting the exact same statement at the exact same time, but it could happen.
Yeah.
I work in a market where everyone has 11 o'clock news, so...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I just was kind of curious to see what you thought of the way it was cut more than anything.
I think you're right. I think that I liked your idea about, like, the turning it off, the TV thing. That could have been hard. Maybe that might have been hard to do. Mm-hmm. Because, like, the TV, like, they'd have to get a TV for one, and then they'd have to find a way to have it playing on the TV.
That's all reasonably doable.
Really?
I think the hardest... playing video that you've already shot on a television?
But a TV of the time period.
This doesn't seem to be set in the 80s.
Are you sure? Because the therapist, her clothes looked like it was supposed to, like, imply that this was, like, taking place in the past.
I did not get that impression at all.
I mean, like, there's not much you can do if you are trying to do that, but to me it felt like it was. That was why I was talking about earlier. I was like, it kind of felt like it was a little bit of the kind of, like, early 80s horror flick, kind of, like, stilted kind of acting that's kind of, like, goofy now, but, like, at the time was just kind of like how movies were, and you're just like, oh, okay. And,
I thought you were just trying to, like, they were trying to capture that tone in the acting. I didn't realize that you thought this was set in the 80s.
Well, I thought that maybe they were, like, actually trying to do a little bit of both. Like, they were trying to get the aesthetic and, like, the performances, but as almost, I thought that, like, it was supposed to, like, also be in the 80s and not present day, but I mean, that's mainly just because I don't know, like, also I don't know, honestly... Maybe the music, for some reason, I bet that, like, if that music is post-80s, then it's probably not supposed to be, like,
Yeah, I don't know. Like, the music sounds kind of timeless. I just don't like it. I'm just trying to find, like... I'm just clicking through it real quick here. Let me look at the therapist. Because isn't she just wearing a sweater?
I don't know, she just looked like she was not in the present day to me.
And maybe she's just a hipster, Rasco. You ever think of that?
Yeah.
I don't know, I'm just flipping through this. Kid's got on Chucks. It's really hard to... It's certainly an ambiguous time, if you're going to say that. I can see an argument getting away with that. Mm-hmm. But no, I don't think there's anything to really ground it in the 80s or the present day or anything. It's just kind of an ambiguous not long ago. I guess the only other thing we haven't really talked about, though, is the makeup on Freddy, which I thought looked really, really good.
Yeah.
Because makeup's something that rarely is, like, particularly heavy prosthetic makeup is something that's rarely done very well in fan films.
I thought that it was pretty good too. Like, I think that was pretty serviceable as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I was impressed with it, particularly after we watched Joker Rising last week, and they couldn't even get the makeup around the scars right.
Yeah, you're right.
So I just find that, like, the whole face looks good.
Did we mention that when we were talking about that episode?
No, we didn't. Didn't think about it. No, the actor's actually able to be expressive and everything. I was quite impressed by that. Costume looks like Freddy Krueger. There's no getting around that one. He curses adequately.
Yeah. You have to know how to use the word bitch if you're going to be Freddy Krueger, and he worked it.
Exactly. Bitch. Yeah, I don't have too much else to say about this. It's, I watched it about 2.5 times. I don't think it's bad by any stretch of the imagination. I just am not in love with it. I'm very middle of the road on this one.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not in love with it, but I just kind of think that it's pretty, consistent, and the craftsmanship is good, so, I kind of like it.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm curious to watch his other ones because of that. Curious how he did with the other fan films. Okay, you want to go ahead and go on to ratings then?
Sure thing, dude.
Okay, I'll go first. I'll give this a 3. I think this is a fair 3. I'll give this a 3 random goth-looking death chicks.
I'll give this... I'm going to give this one a 3. I'm going to give this one I'm going to go 4. I was going to give it 3.5. I'll bump it up to a 4. I'll give it a 4 out of 5. Outdated sweaters.
Who wears a fedora with a sweater? Who does that? That's how you know Freddy's a serial killer.
And a hipster.
Yeah. It's the hipster. That's what I want to make a fan film about, the hipster slashers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like hipster Jason, hipster Michael Myers.
That'd be hilarious.
Hipster Hellraiser.
Hipster Chucky.
Yeah. Those should all be in one universe together.
Yeah, Max Landis wrote a script for a movie called Nightmares that's a crossover film between, I think, Jason, Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Chucky, maybe Pinhead. I'm not sure who else. Maybe Leprechaun. I don't know if Leprechaun's in it.
Did you ever hear how the original script for Freddy vs. Jason was supposed to end?
I've watched this one video that went through kind of like a brief overview of the entire history of the script writing process and how many different people wrote the script for that movie and how many times people they had someone pitch them an idea and they went with it, but then they decided no and they scrapped it a bunch. But I don't know specifically what the instance you're talking about.
Well, one of the original endings then. I want to touch back on what you were just saying, but one of the original endings for the script was that Freddy and Jason were supposed to be still, both die and then still fighting in hell, and then, a bunch of chains would come out from the flames and separate the two, and then Pinhead would walk out and be like, "Gentlemen, what seems to be the problem?"
Oh, cool.
Yeah. But the process you're talking about, I just find funny because that is called Freddy Kruegering a script, because it becomes the nightmare child of 1,000 madmen.
It's hilarious. Well,
yep.
I mean,
yep.
David S. Goyer was supposed to write it at one point, and
that's crazy.
His version of the script, this is literally it. Freddy and Jason were being controlled by an evil demon named Thanos, Lord of the Underworld. That was his generic as hell take on Freddy vs. Jason. They were just being controlled by some... And then there was this one version of the script about a bunch of kids that get arrested by this psychic girl who tips people off that these kids are committing crimes or something, and they get this drug called somnambulance, and there's a cult called the Fred Heads. And they worship Freddy Krueger, and the Fred Head
That's actually
coming for this girl, and it's really fucking funny.
I really like the idea of a cult that worships Freddy Krueger.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool idea. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
The Fred Heads.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and talk about what are we going to do next week, Rasco.
Okay, so next week's fan film is called Halloween. Fan short film by John Cheshire.
Okay, please link that to me, because I imagine if I search Halloween fan film, I'm going to find just about a billion things. Alright, everyone, thank you for joining us for this episode of Fan Film Reviews. We look forward to seeing you on other episodes of Geeky Gentleman Horror Month. And until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm the Squampus.
And we are your Geeky Gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.
Ah!